Well, Geoff Lemon has joined me to discuss something a little bit interesting as we head towards the end of the group stages. Of course, Scotland and Australia play in the final game of Group B.
Yep.
England are in that group.
Yep. Points, Scotland 5, England potentially 5.
Yes.
If they win their next 2 games.
Then we have a net run rate situation.
Yep. Scotland high, England low currently.
Yes. Now, Josh Hazelwood was asked about this situation because Australia and Scotland is the last game. So Scotland are going to know exactly what they need to do to ensure that they make it through. Josh Hazelwood was asked, talked about, I don't know, go slow, and I think it was tongue-in-cheek. But Matthew Mott, the coach, has been asked to actually clarify. What do you make of all of this? Because it does seem dubious, the idea of perhaps manipulating results. Is it?
Does it? Is it dubious? So why should it actually be a problem? If you've got, if the way that you win a certain game might mean that one team goes through the next stage instead of the other, and you would prefer Team A to be there instead of Team B because Team B might not be playing that well at the moment, but they might have a higher potential ceiling. You might be more worried about running into them later. It's in your interest for them not to be there. Then why not make sure that they can't be there? Cricket's a sport. Sports are competitive. I'm not quite sure that I understand why people are suggesting that that would be a bad thing or a wrong thing to do to make sure that your more dangerous competition isn't there.
Oh, yeah, you left out the other reason. Because it's England.
Because it's England. Yeah, that as well. No, but I mean, look, England are the reigning champs.
Yeah.
They're a very good T20 side. They've bashed up Australia a bunch of times in 20 over cricket, and they're a good enough team that if things click, then they could do the same thing in a semi-final or a final. So if you're Australia or any other side, what you would say, you'd think that you have Scotland covered more comfortably, you'd rather they were there. That makes sense. I don't think Josh Hazelwood was actually suggesting they would do it. I think he was asked the question of, would this be in Australia's interest? And he said, yes, it would be in our interest if England aren't there. That's true. That's just a true observation. He said, if we were to be in a situation where making sure Scotland didn't lose net run rate was a factor, then we could do it by scoring slowly. And then he said, we probably wouldn't do it because we'd probably rather just win and beat everybody as hard as we possibly can every time we play them. So I think he ends up at the position of this isn't something we're likely to do, and also he's not in charge, he's not the captain, he's not the coach. He was spitballing, he was freewheeling, he was having a little thought experiment.
Oh, it's not something that we haven't all been thinking ourselves.
I've been talking about it since the washout between England and Scotland initially. I pegged that this could happen, that we could end up in that situation. Or we might not, because England might absolutely thump their next 2 opponents, and they might be ahead of Scotland on net run rate anyway.
The other thing is as well, so there is provision actually in the code of conduct, the ICC's tournament code of conduct, where about manipulating results, and if a team is found to have done something that is deemed underhand or not within that code of conduct, there are actually some penalties. They can get demerit points. It could mean that the captain misses out on a match. But how do you prove it? Because
prove it.
Scotland could be quite good, you know.
They could. Scotland are quite good. We've seen that. We saw Scotland, I think, would probably have beaten England if that game had gone ahead, because England needed 109 in 10 overs, which is a pretty tough ask to come out and do on a pitch in Barbados. It wasn't that easy to bat on. Scotland are a very, very solid team at the moment. There's no reason why they should get smashed by Australia, and there's no reason why they couldn't beat Australia if they have a particularly good day. Those are things that can happen. It is, unless you send your bowlers out to open the batting, it's unprovable. And then this is the thing: a team can only try to fudge net run rate right at the end of the game when they already know that it's in the bag. If you're batting first, you can't do that. If you're batting first, you have to get as many as you possibly can, and you can't then decline to take wickets and just drop catches and so on. And it's no point sort of bowling wide and trying to stop them scoring, because even if they bat out their 20 overs, if they haven't scored, their net run rate's still low. So if you're defending, you've got to let the chasing team get close, and you can't afford to let them get close because then they might win. So the only way you can do it is if you're batting second and you're well on top of the game, and you need 20 off the last 6 overs, and then you decide to do it in 19 and a half overs instead of doing it in 15. But That's risky. That's dangerous. If you take it close to the end, all it needs is someone pulls out a hat trick or someone bowls a few dot balls and suddenly you've lost the game.
Well,
so it's not going to happen.
The one thing Australia can do is rest some players, though.
Yeah.
That might be likely.
That is one method that could be useful, but this still doesn't mean that they're likely to lose that game. Australia's never lost to an associate country in any format, in any tournament, they avoid playing associate countries most of the time. That's sort of how the Australian scheduling works. But when they have to, they've always won. So I find it unlikely that it's going to be a turnover by Scotland, but also, why shouldn't you be allowed to bat slowly? You can bat however quickly you want. We saw 50 over World Cup, how many times was KL Rahul patting balls back so that Kohli could make 100 at the other end? Is that not match manipulation? You're allowed to do that, fine. So you should be allowed to win as slowly as you want.
Well, all I can imagine is it's still going to cause an awful hoo-ha.
I hope so. It'd be funny. Fundamentally, it's funny. Funny cricket is better than good cricket. That's the immortal law of cricket.
Yeah, we'll see how England fans feel about it, but it's going to be fascinating.
I know how they're going to feel about it, but it probably won't happen. It probably won't even get to that point. Something else will happen in the meantime.
But it's fun to talk about it while it's there. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back with lots more for talkSPORT throughout the tournament.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.